back into it on the Revitalized Womanhood podcast with my guest, Katy Rexing, and I am so excited. We've already been here just like going off because she did, in fact, notice the changing table in the nursery behind me, which is always fun to be like, yeah, that's me,
Yes.
that's my vibe. And I was just explaining that my
Yes.
women's community, when I started it, it just was so heavy and called to on my heart because not only was I raised by the OG of stay-at-home moms, like she had a garden, we had 8 kids in my family, she mended clothes, she made all of our dance dresses. I mean, she's OG. I was raised on homemade bread and garden food, right? And
Yeah.
she is a perfect
Wow.
example of never doing anything for herself, right? Always doing everything for everyone else, everyone else, everyone else.
Mhm.
And now we are all in a culture of getting to have a different conversation about motherhood and getting to talk up about things that, like, no, it's important to do things for ourselves. It's important to, especially not
Yeah.
even just model that for
Yeah.
these kiddos, but for us to be fulfilled, right? And so that's kind of my niche. I hate that word because I just never know. I'm like, whatever.
Niche.
Is
Yeah.
more
You got it. You
not
got it.
necessarily stay-at-home moms, but yeah, like moms who prioritize family. That's who I speak
Mhm.
to and
Mhm.
speak
Mhm.
up for, I think.
I
So,
love that.
yeah.
I love that.
So, of
Yeah.
course, when I
Well,
found your Instagram,
it's
I was
beautiful.
like, yes, yes, yep, let's get her on. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's just jump back
Yeah.
into the actual episode and please introduce yourself to my listeners.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Gina. I really appreciate it. And I have mad respect for the changing table behind you. I was just sharing with you offline. I'm in my dining room and I've got a swinging door right next to me into my kitchen. And half the time my kids like come barreling in here with like sandwiches half made, asking me to put out fire. Like they're like, Mom, Mom. And I'm like, don't you respect me? Um, that's what you got to do. And like, listen, first and foremost,
Yeah.
above all, like I will always be a mother. And then everything else is a bonus. So I'm Katie. I'm a mom of 4. I'm in my late 40s. I mean, I don't know how far back we want to go, but I would just say that I found meditation and mindfulness practices about 10 years ago, and they really changed my life. I was a really overwhelmed mom, lived with a lot of high anxiety. We wouldn't have had language for it at the time because no one was talking about mental health or anxiety a decade ago. Meditation was like not a cool thing people were talking about. But I had been introduced to it. Got into yoga when I was pregnant with my first,
Wow.
who's now almost 18, so almost 18 years ago. And, that was really, like, kinda like my forte into, like, the mindfulness space, like, I kinda just dipped my toe into it, and I was like, "This is interesting and cool for other people, not for me," because I was really, an overachiever, go, 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 had a very anxious mind, so the idea of, like, sitting still and meditating, I got it, like, I understood it conceptually, but it just didn't relate to my life. Long story short, I found myself in a situation where my partner, it was my husband of 18 plus years, 19 years, was traveling every week for work. And I was at home with 4 little kids. And I was taking the same skills that I had applied to my life as an early woman, which was like to be perfect at everything. And I applied that to
Yeah.
motherhood. And that is a recipe for disaster. Worked really hard at trying to control my body, control my kids, control my home, control my eating, control my drinking. I was hyper fixated on controlling everything outside of myself. And the more I did that, the more anxious I became and the more my inside started screaming. And so probably about, a decade ago, as I mentioned, as when I really got into meditation, I knew I had to do something to change my life because if not, I was going down a path of I don't wanna say, like, destruction per se, but just a really unhappy place where I was gonna be a not so great mother, a not so great partner, and just, like, lose myself as a woman. And I found meditation, it was really slow, it was not some, like, big overnight quick thing, like, meditation is not this, like, dopamine hit that you get that you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna, like, change my whole life," and, it's a
Yeah.
slow burn. if you will. I always think about it like it's a drop of water on a stone, and I was that hard stone, and it's just like drip after drip after drip after drip every single day. And eventually that stone starts like being weathered away, and you start seeing some major changes in your life. And I started seeing changes in my relationships with my kids, with my husband, my relationship to my body, my relationship to alcohol, my relationship to my parents, my extended family, like everything on the outside started to shift, but it was because I began changing the relationship with myself. It sounds so cliche. I know as I'm saying it that I'm like, oh, this sounds so hallmarky. It's
That's
just, but
why
the
it's a
problem is it's actually
cliche.
true. Like
Right.
I wish it was a different story. I wish I had something. And it's funny, like I ended up getting into like the mindfulness wellness space about 5 years ago, really kind of against my will. I'm sort of like anti-wellness, if you will. Like I see what's being presented online and I'm like, what in the heck is happening out there? It is like not
You
that I
can
have
say it,
anything
it's fine,
against
it's fine.
supplements and green juices and stuff, but it
Right.
just feels like capitalism rewritten as like I'm like, wait, is this the new
Yeah,
diet? Is that we're all getting on board? And so I'm sort of like a little bit
yeah,
less of that. We need less of that kind of stuff in our life. Like you probably need less supplements, less working out, less a lot
right.
of that shit, I'm just gonna call it, and
Yeah.
more of just like being with yourself. And that's a really
It is,
uncomfortable
and
thing
that's
to do
why
for a
they
lot of
buy the
people.
other stuff.
So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That feels like an easier, that's a better dopamine hit. And so now I teach meditation online to women. I lead retreats, have a podcast, like the whole thing, like really just it's the practices I wish I would have had a decade ago is sort of what I've built. And isn't that what we all do, right? The
Yeah,
things we didn't have is what we
yeah.
end up becoming and creating for other people. So
That's
that's
I
really it,
love it.
Gina, in a
What's
nutshell.
so
That's
interesting about you,
that's
and I
what you
actually
got.
heard this in one of your podcasts, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I like her," was because you are an analytical thinker in the way that this stuff is woo-woo to you,
Yeah.
and you're like, "That's weird. Okay, that's not just gonna,
Yeah.
like, make me all of a sudden
Yeah.
have this better life, like, I'm not swallowing the pill." What is it on The Matrix, right? The red pill, the green pill, whatever, and it's like, but really, and I was the
Yes.
same way when I started this community. I was the same way. My very first women's event I went to in Scottsdale, and I'm great friends with the woman who hosted it. Actually, we became really great friends. And she had some people, and great friends with the people that she had on her stage, that I was like, "You are weird. You are like out there. This is too weird for me." But it was really
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
because it was uncomfortable for me, because I had never experienced anything like it. I'd never even heard anything like it. I'd never even been curious about anything like it, right? I'd just been shut off to it. And that's a lot of the stuff I see
Yeah.
now, being 4 years in, that is almost, you're hypersensitive to the things that are like that. Like we used to be like that. Like it's too woo woo, or it's whatever. Instead of
Yeah.
just allowing for curiosity, you're putting a label on it, and it's usually a negative label. Like, I don't want this. And I see
Yeah.
that I've seen
Yeah.
that in people
Yeah.
on social media, where they will jump at a thought that they don't like or doesn't sit with them well, and tear it apart. And I'm like, "Great, like, we're okay having." I'm reading a book right now that this woman is just, like, spewing her political preference, which I wasn't in the market for. I was in the market for self-compassion, and I'm getting
Mhm. Mhm.
politics. But
Mhm.
I said to myself,
Mhm.
after I was, like, irritated, right? I said, "But she's got something to teach me." And that's also, like, I can
Mhm.
listen to
Mhm.
something she's
Mhm.
saying, and even though I
Mhm.
don't agree with everything, she still has a point to some of the things she's saying, and I'm gonna be a better person
Yeah.
for accepting that.
Yeah.
I I don't know where I got off on that. So
Yeah.
you were saying the same thing, that you got into it kind of the same way, that it was like, "Oh, man, okay, really?" But then as you're doing these practices and connecting more to yourself, and
Yeah.
tearing away labels, good, bad, ugly, this, that, the other, and just allowing for things to just
Yeah.
be, that you're like, "Okay, well, now I can
Yeah.
navigate where this is gonna fit organically in my life." So All that to say,
Yeah.
I want to first my first question I wanna ask is actually in your bio, and you say, "Guiding women in midlife back home to themselves." What does that actually mean to come home, you know?
What
And
does that mean? I
I
don't
love
even
it.
know. Why did I
Well,
write that, Gina?
for
I don't even know what
me,
that means.
you're
Yeah, no,
stepping
I have
into
thoughts on it.
season 2 of
Yeah.
my podcast, which is Live Like Her Now. So we went from season 1, which was Midlife
Okay.
Revolution,
Okay.
and now we are stepping into
Mhm.
Live
Mhm.
Like Her Now. There's not a perfect time. It's not when
Yeah.
the kids are older. It's not when you're in a different season. It's not when you're blah, 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 blah. And
Yeah.
so to say guiding women in midlife back home to themselves, I'm like, yeah, this
Yeah.
resonates.
Yeah. I mean, so many different things. I have so many different thoughts on this. I think we use this listen, and I think this is being talked about a lot of just like women coming home to themselves or finding yourselves. So
Mhm.
sometimes I think it can get a little hallmarky, right? Like a little cliche. And so sometimes as we said earlier, I can be skeptical of these things. Like, what are you actually talking about? Like, what does that actually literally mean? I'm
Use
like,
real
what?
words.
Like people say things to me, and it's so funny because I have so many friends. I have so many friends in like the wellness space and spirituality space, and they will say things to me when we're talking. I'm like, can you just say normal words? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Because they're like, and I am like, I don't like the goddess in me. I'm like, what? Just say normal things. Um, so the way I kind of look at it is in our 20s and 30s, and even earlier than that, like create these lives based around other people's ideals and other people's things. And we are living with this external orientation of am I being a good daughter? Am I being a good wife? Am I being a good mother? Right? Like we're collecting these gold stars, if you will. Like it's externally oriented, and we don't know that we're doing this at the time, but we all do it, and we create these lives that usually we get to like our 40s. Most of us, I can't say everyone, that we start understanding. Like, actually, I don't know if
Yeah,
any of these things that I created a whole world around are things that I value. Like, is this important to me? And so one of the things, like when I look at my own life, we had set up this really elaborate life of this like beautiful big home that my husband had to work for us to pay the mortgage and all these different things. And I'm the middle child, oldest daughter, and I was hosting all the holidays, and I had this so much stress in my life to maintain this life that like I didn't actually value the
yeah,
things I was
absolutely.
maintaining, if that makes sense. What I actually valued was slow time with my kids, time outside. But I didn't know these things at the time. And so I think you get to a point where you hit your 40s, some point in your 40s. And I will say, I do not think it's any coincidence that we hit perimenopause and menopause at that same time. I actually think it's nature's way of giving us even more permission to have ruptures, if you will, in our life to say, like, I'm going to make things uncomfortable for you because the way you're orienting, the way
Right.
you're working actually isn't working for you. And so I think it's like Mother Nature has designed this and society, like it just happened that we get to this point where we're in our 40s and things stop feeling aligned, if you will. And then we have an opportunity to step back and be like, okay, instead of externally orienting my life around all of these things, how can I reorient it for myself? And, one of the things I do is I would just use this as a small example, but I was in Panama like a month or two ago leading a women's retreat. And the very first day, in this opening circle, and the first question I ask is like, who has entered the room with us? Who is here? And it
Mm,
cannot be your
yeah,
roles. It cannot be right. It cannot be like the job. It cannot be anything about like, who are you? I don't want to hear about your kids. I don't want to hear about what you do. Like, who are you? And I will tell you, I've done this multiple years and it's always the same answer. Like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm 50 years old and I'm just figuring that out. I'm 40 years old. I'm just asking myself that question. Women in their
yeah,
70s saying, I'm just asking myself this question. So when we ask ourselves, like, who are you? So this idea of like coming home to ourselves, it can be extremely uncomfortable because like, I don't know actually underneath all that, who am I outside of this? So I think about it even with me, like, who am I outside of myself as a mother? Who am I outside of my relationship to JP? Like just if you take all of those things and you separate them from yourself, like who is the person left here? And for what I kind of, and this is not like I didn't like make this up, so this is not like my words, but I really truly believe this. So like that we're just like pure love energy. And it sounds so cliche, but these like bodies that we carry are just like vessels to get us in order to be able to experience things. But who we are at our core is just this pure love energy. And we can at any point, use that to manifest whatever it is that we want in our life. And so if you are listening to this and you're feeling a little bit of like dis-ease in your life or an undercurrent of like things aren't feeling aligned and you're like, I have this big, beautiful life that I should probably be grateful for,
right.
and yet something feels off, it's usually a sign that like that pure love energy inside of you isn't manifesting, coming to fruition the way that it's designed to, and that you have permission at any point to course correct. And it does not mean taking a sledgehammer to your life and like breaking apart, like
Right.
getting a divorce necessarily, as some people do. It doesn't mean necessarily getting a new job, but sometimes it does. But sometimes it can just mean these like little tiny course corrections. If you think about like a ship, sailing in the ocean, like it just like a little tiny
Right.
twist. You can't see me, but I'm like turning my hand ever so slightly. And the ship goes into a completely different destination. I think sometimes we just need permission in our lives to be like, okay, these three core values that really matter to me in my 20s and 30s and my 40s and 50s, maybe not so much. And so what do I value? And do I have permission now to like course correct?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that you do. So anyway, that's kind of like in my mind, when I think about coming home to yourself, it's a really long answer of like,
I love it.
who is
I
the
love
woman
it because
underneath all of
in my
that?
community, one of the first words one of the first questions I ask is because it's a lot of goal setting. It's the foundationally in goal setting. And so
Yeah.
the questions that we ask when they first come into the community are, what are you looking for? What was it that made you join this community? What are you looking for? Who do you
Yeah.
want to be? Or, whatever. What are your goals? Let's just say that. What are your goals? And it's
Sure.
usually
Yeah.
be a better wife, be a better mother. And I'm like,
Right.
okay,
Right. For
so,
somebody else.
and
Right. Yeah.
like
Hmm.
those are I think if
Hmm.
you're a wife and
Hmm.
a mother, you already
Yeah.
want to be a better one of those because we're that's you want to be that. But let's so it's because no one's ever asked them, right? That's what it comes down to. And
Yeah.
what you're saying with these women at your retreat, no one's ever asked them to actually sit and think about,
Yeah.
who am I without this label, without this hat, without this, who am I? And it's so funny that you said, and I don't think it's weird at all. I probably used to think it was super weird, but I don't think it's weird at all that you said that it's love, what'd you say? Love energy, energy, love, pure love energy. Because
Pure
as
love
you were
energy.
asking that
Yeah. Pure
question and
love
kind of
energy. Yeah.
explaining, I kind of went into myself and I'm like, okay, you asked me that question. What would I explain? And I would explain this hype girl energy, because that is what I am. That is what I was put
Hmm.
on this planet to do, to have all of this. This is going to go down a
Hmm.
few right turns. I'm sorry. Talk about course correcting. Here we go.
No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was listening to one of your episodes today, and you're very soft spoken. It's very calming to listen to your. I'm like, oh, sure my kids are
Thank
screaming
you.
behind me, and I'm just, no. You're very soft spoken, and I thought, I it's interesting because I'm not. I actually physically got shushed yesterday in a meeting.
Yeah.
She's like, "We're gonna get in trouble. There's offices around us." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. That's just my voice. That's just me. I'm just
Yeah.
like, you can tell I'm just this exuberant allotness."
Yeah.
And there was a time in my life where that
Yeah.
wasn't, uh I didn't love myself for that, right? I didn't not, but I didn't. Or if
Hmm.
someone would have said you're
Hmm.
too much, I would have been like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." But where I am now, I thought
Yeah.
that's a really beautiful thing for me to understand who I am and what I was put on this planet to do.
Yeah.
And that is bring this kind of energy, because someone
Yeah.
else needs to be the soft spoken person. Someone else needs that, but someone needs
Yeah.
this and someone needs this energy. And so it's interesting, before you
Yeah.
even said that, I thought, I'm energy. This is my energy. And I absolutely see that, because if
Mhm.
you rip it away, what
Mhm.
else would you say?
Mhm.
You say, I'm a woman that what? Right? So you have to insert a
Yeah,
label here.
right, right,
And
right.
once you don't want to give yourself a label, you're down to an essence, really. I mean, what's left? So sorry,
Yeah,
we just
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
we went all
yeah,
over the place
yeah.
with that one, but I love it.
No, no, but I think, yeah, I think it really is like understanding that. I mean, so many different things. Like if you look at like, right, we think about this world, like you and I sitting here talking, that like what we see is like, and I don't mean to get like, now I'm going to get a little woo for a second, but that what
Mhm.
we see here is real, right? And we know that this is just like our 3D world, and that like really what's happening here is like we're only seeing 0.002% of like what actually is happening in reality. And there's so much
Mhm.
energetically happening that we
Right.
cannot understand, we can't see, we can't quantify. And that who we are is like this energetic
Mhm.
being, and that, like, yes, you see this, like, you see this physical body, but we know that, like, matter under a microscope, you look at it, and 99.9% of it is pure white space. It's just pure open space. It's nothingness. It's energy. It's something that we can't see and define with the eye. And so you think about it, like, who are you? You're emptiness. We are energy. Like, we are an energetic being. And I think sometimes we like to get bogged down by, like, I'm a mom, I'm a this, I'm a that. And I will also say, just talking about when you were talking about, sorry, because I'm segueing a little bit, but about the women coming in and saying, I want to be a better mom, a better wife, this whole thing of like, and what I'm really working on right now for myself and with the women that I work with is understanding that there is no future you, there is no past you, there's only you right now in this present moment. Like,
Yeah,
this present moment is all that exists. It's like right now in this moment. And that you
right,
don't need to become a better anything. Like, you already, you receiving that love, like, you are pure love energy right now just by simply existing, whether or not you think you're a good mom or this or whatever it is, taking all of that, like becoming better, becoming something else, right? Is like it just is like false narrative because you'll never get there because you're always just like right now in this present moment. And I think that's one of the things that meditation has really helped me to understand is like right now in this moment as pure love energy. And then you can add the
right,
labels as like the mother that I am, as the wife that I am, all these things that I'm inherently worthy right now in this moment without having to change anything about myself, without having to change the volume of your voice, without having to change the energy, without having to change like how you are as a partner showing up that like right now in this moment, you are inherently worthy of everything, of love, of compassion, of ease, of joy, of all these different things. And that when we can move forward in that being as someone who's worthy, we start
right.
showing up so differently in our life. And I think that, and you mentioned earlier about like me having this calm voice. I will tell you, I am a very big energy and actually don't like inherently who I used to think I was someone who was like a very like, I don't want to say like exuberant energy, but the more I've worked on my meditation practice, the more grounded I become. It's hard to explain. Like, I just don't feel that rushed energy. Like, let me tell you, I don't know if I'm explaining it right. I
It's
just
almost
feel
like
like there's this
you've settled in.
centeredness and
You've settled in.
groundedness.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And my voice is like all of a sudden dropped a little bit. And I'm like, wait a second.
It's so good.
This rushed energy is
Yeah.
not the same anymore. I don't know if any of that made sense, Gina. I just went a lot of different
I
places
can
and came
follow
back
it.
and I was
I
like,
can
not
follow
sure I
it.
made a point there, but
I can follow it. I'm with
okay.
you. Whatever. Just hang on tight, ladies. Hang on tight.
Oh my
It's gonna be
goodness.
a ride.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, if you would be so kind, I would really love to jump into the
Yeah.
moment you said so you have a post. If someone I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna jump out of my notes here and I'm gonna open up this post.
Yeah. And P.S. I always love when people tell me things I've written or shared because I'm like, wait, I wrote that? What did I say? Hold on.
Every
Let
now and
me.
again, your back east
Exactly.
comes through and it makes me miss my best friend.
Oh, yeah. I know. I'm in
You're
California
like,
and people are always like, you're
I
not from
am, I
around here. And I was
promise.
like, yeah, no.
Oh, my 5-year-old has a
Totally.
twang, and it's so funny. People will be like, "Why does he sound like a hillbilly?" And we're like, whatever. Well, so
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
got this beautiful one, and
Yeah.
it might even be pinned. Is it? Is it pinned? Oh, yeah, it's pinned to the top. So it's beautiful. It's you basically introducing yourself to whoever, right? And you talk about
Yeah.
from an early age, you felt anxiety. You felt the burden of a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety. So
Definitely.
I want to jump you to
Yeah.
being, like you said, a young mother with these kiddos and whether your husband was there or not, but just you in your identity as a young mother. And
Yeah.
when was it that you identified? Because here we go. We usually have a moment in our lives where the hurt is hurting, right? But it's not hurting enough because
Hmm.
the fear of changing it is worse. It's more debilitating. So you just stay in the hurt, right? Right.
Well, yeah,
The
it's the
devil you
devil
know,
you
exactly.
know.
So what was it for
Yeah.
you that finally just pushed you into that no? This is it. If I do not change, I will
Yeah.
break.
You know what, Gina? I mean, I could give you
Mm.
the answer that I've written about many times, but I'm going to just say to you, I think it's a lot. It's a lot of things, and I think sometimes we. So I always think about, well, not always, but it's really more recently I've started to think about and you can call it mindfulness practice, spirituality practice, personal development, whatever, is like a rubber band that's stretching. And so it stretches and you expand and then you
Right.
contract and then you come back to like some old
100%.
ways and then you stretch and expand and then you contract and come back, you know? And I think we think that we are like on a ladder, if you will, and like you just like go
Mhm.
up these rings or rungs, whatever you call it. And all of a sudden you become a different version of yourself. So if you take me back 10 years ago, it was a series of a couple of panic attacks that I had when I was home alone with my kids are all really close in age. They're 6 years apart, all four of them, and that was it was a lot. They were little babies, and I remember it was when my youngest was like newborn age, and everyone was crying. And I remember being on the kitchen floor and like having this moment where I felt like something was on my chest, and I was like
Mm.
watching myself in a movie. And I remember like hearing the kids crying and thinking like, pick them up. And I just couldn't do it, and I don't know how long I sat there, time just kind of froze, and I had many of these in a series of, like, a couple of months, and that's when I knew something had to change, and did I make a change? Yes, and so I started working on meditation, but I will tell you, you know, even still now, those kinds of moments
Yeah.
still happen in my life. I don't necessarily have the same degree of panic attacks, but I have certain things where I get triggered or something happens, and I'm constantly
Yeah.
reminded of, like, "Shit, that still lives in you." That and I think sometimes we think that we're gonna have this moment where this part of us gets excavated out of us and it no longer exists. So like, oh, all of a sudden I meditate. I do not have anxiety anymore.
Mhm.
And that's just like not how it works, right? Like we don't become a different person. We just start becoming more aware of these parts of ourselves. And so meditation has helped me become more aware of these parts of myself, but they still exist in me. So to answer your question, like they actually kind of happen, I wouldn't say, um, I'm trying to answer this really honestly. I'm not going to say they happen daily because there are little triggers that happen daily, but they're small things. But I'd say really it's like every couple of years, there's a big aha moment. You know, I had one when we moved to California, and that was a couple of years ago. And I really thought I was at this plateau
Mm.
where I was like, I am doing great. I have conquered my anxiety. I am like a badass. I'm teaching meditation. And you have this like false sense of, like the
Yeah.
rubber band
Yep.
had stretched really far. Do you know what I mean? And then we moved to California and I was like smacked with reality. And like I had
Mm.
this major season of contraction. And I sort of felt like I was back at the starting point again. Like it took me right back to those kitchen floor days when I was having those panic attacks.
Right.
But the truth was I was a different woman having similar feelings, but I had more experience behind me. I had more confidence behind me. And so I could handle those situations a little bit better. But they still happen. And so I think sometimes like we get these little tests, if you will, where we realize we still have to make changes, not changes,
Right.
continue to course correct. And I think that that will be our whole life. I think I'll be 60, 70 years old still being like, oh, there's that same little part of you that got activated again. It's still that, you know, that 30 something year old girl on the kitchen floor crying. Now she's in her 70s and it's a different situation. I can handle it differently, but I don't know. I think those parts of us kind of always
Yeah,
exist. I don't know
no,
if I answered your question
it
though.
was lovely. I was with you. I was with you the whole time. But
Yeah.
I love the rubber band because it's so true. You think that it's something that in this kind of work, you think that it's something that you've achieved, like a level on a game, like Mario, and you're like, "Boop, boop,
Yes.
boop, boop." You just
Yes.
got to the castle and slid down the pole. I just totally
Yes.
dated myself for everybody,
Yeah.
but it's not.
No,
And then
yes. That's
what's
exactly right.
interesting is the good and bad of doing this kind of work is you become way more aware of it. It's not that you're better at it, it's that you're now
Yeah.
aware of all of it or more of it. And so it feels like
Yeah.
almost worse because you're like, there it is again. I thought I worked on this.
Yeah.
But like you said, you have these amazing
Yeah.
tools and this trust in
Yeah.
yourself and this compassion that you're like, all right, we're safe. We're not running from a bear right now. We can handle this. Versus before
Yes.
having those
Yeah.
tools, you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
I'm running from a bear. I'm absolutely out of control.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That girl back, I was living in New York at the time.
Right.
That girl was running from a bear. I was on the kitchen floor and that paralyzed me,
What my
So
fear for
yeah,
women is,
I don't
and
know.
I see this so often in a lot of people I know, is that their body never stops, body, mind, I mean, whatever your mind's telling your body, never stops
Yeah.
thinking it's running from a bear. Even sitting on a sofa, even just sitting at home doing nothing, having a cup of
Yeah.
coffee, you're still being chased by a bear. And it's like, wow,
Yeah.
wow, there is a lot of unraveling
Yeah.
to do here. And if we aren't, and that's why I love podcasts like
Yeah.
yours and podcasts like mine, because we get to start to shift the narrative again into this new, we're not running from a bear era, and hopefully help a lot of women.
Yeah.
What the reason I
Yeah.
asked you that question is because I think a lot of women that I don't know how to phrase this. Not that I want to help. I want to help you. You need help. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
that they feel this, that they need to hide parts of themselves. Maybe they don't even necessarily know they're hiding it, but
Mhm.
they feel that they can't be allowed
Mhm.
to share, like you said, that I want more, that there's more to something, or that this is not fun and I don't like this, but I should be grateful. And
Mhm.
right, we feel like we cannot be honest with ourselves or the people around us, but really we can't be honest with ourselves. And I want to release, I
Mhm.
want to give permission, I want to, whatever it is you need from listening to this podcast episode, to hear
Mhm.
Katy or myself say, we all have felt that way at some point or another. It's not unique to you. So
Mhm.
you isolating
Mhm.
and hiding from that part
Mhm.
of you because you think it's shameful or ugly or mean or naughty or whatever is the reason that you can't be abundant in the rest of these things. So let's unlock it. Let's unlock it. Let's
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
brave enough to unlock it, whatever the
Mhm.
thing
Yeah.
is. And so that's why I was kind of looking for with,
Yeah.
when did you finally just, was it a gradual thing? I know you said in the meditation it was gradual, you kind of just started working on it, but was there something that was like, this has got to stop? Like, I have got to get a grip on whatever this was, or was it really just gradual and you just started making these little adjustments, these little course corrections of, I didn't like that. It didn't feel very good. Did
Yeah.
anybody actually like say to you what's going on, or were you doing this alone? Was this all just your,
No, no one would have said to me what was going on
oh,
because I was
yeah.
playing the part really well, so everyone would
Mhm.
have wanted me to stay that way, you know? If anything, I was been told
Yeah.
to, like, relax, have a glass of wine, you're
Mhm.
overthinking it. Just, like, you
Like,
need to
that's
chill
such an
out, you
easy
know?
thing to just
You're just
do.
you need to relax. Yeah, and, I think I just wanted to preface this in saying, like, because you had said something about, like, the nervous system and, like, people
Right.
feeling like even on the couch, you're running from a bear and, like, I don't I want every person, like, to hear this really clear, like, none of
No.
this is our fault, and, like, that we did anything, and not that I think that anyone thinks that, but I think sometimes you can get this point where, like, it seems so easy, you're like, "Well, if you just did this," like, we have been so conditioned to, not trust ourselves, and we've been so conditioned to, like, just keep up the peace and keep
Right.
keep on keep whatever that phrase is, keep on keeping on, whatever. So, like, it's not your fault, and should be to no surprise to anyone that making changes like this is really difficult. And it's often, I think to your question about, like, when did that happen? I think it's for a lot of people, a lot of over and over. I don't think it's like one big, like, moment happens that someone hits rock bottom. I mean, maybe if it's
Right.
like a drug problem or an alcohol problem or something, sure. But, like, I think for the most part, the women, the stories that I hear, it's like I've been living with this feeling of, like, dis-ease and discomfort for a good decade, if not more. And
Yeah.
it's repetition over repetition of, like, learning to come home to themselves. And I think you get to a point where really the thing is that for me, that kind of changed everything. And this is, I don't really say this often, but I think you've got to get to a point where you start seeing yourself as worthy. I think that's really the, like, moment things start changing when you start, like, truly seeing yourself as worthy. And I'm not talking about, like, the self love that's like,
Oh,
oh, I
no.
love
We're gonna get into
myself,
this. I know
that
exactly
I
what you're
see
talking about
all
right now.
around.
Mhm.
It's
It's
a
a
way
trust.
deeper thing of, like, knowing yourself. Yeah, and it's, like, of knowing
Yeah.
yourself. I think half of us don't even know ourselves, let alone could love ourselves. I'm like, "You don't even girl, you don't even know who you are." And, um, and I think I have been told that there's all these parts of, not to go too much into parts work, but it's a big part of my work and with the women I work with is there's these parts of ourselves that we've like shunned off and shunned
Mhm.
away. My anxiety, if you will, like my alcohol relationship with alcohol before, old past issues in my marriage, these parts of ourselves that I was like, that is too shameful. And until you can get to a point where you can like actually welcome them all in compassionately and like sit with them all at once and know that they're all a part of you, I don't think anything really changes in your life. Like I don't feel any shame
Mhm.
about really anything in my life anymore. I'm like kind of, I mean, sometimes shame will arise from me, but I welcome all those parts in equally. Doesn't make it comfortable. And this is going to be sound extreme when I say this. Um, I was just talking to my husband on a walk, saying this to him the other day, and it's just really been in the past year or two that I see this, and I really feel like a lot of things have shifted for me when I've started just understand this and believe this. Like I know I said like we are pure love energy, right? But if we're just pure love energy, then we are also
Right.
connected to
Mhm.
source, whether you call that God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And I really believe that, like, this is going to sound crazy when I say this, but like, I believe I'm God
Because you have
and I
a
believe
piece
you
of
are
him in
Gina.
you, is that what you mean?
And
Or of
and
the
I don't even mean
energy,
him.
the
I mean of
universe,
just
whatever it
like
is?
whether it's
Mhm.
like of the energy. And I think so with my children and so is the person next door. I think we all are. And I think we've like forgotten that like whatever the thing bigger than us
Yeah.
is in us. It's in us. Like that is us. There's no separation. And I think that we've created this separation between the higher being, whatever you call it, God, you call it spirit, you call it whatever you want to call it, like that it lives in us. And when you start to like accept that and understand, like, holy crap, I am powerful beyond my wildest dreams. I am loved more than I ever could have imagined. And I am
Right.
loved bigger than I ever could have imagined. Like you start seeing yourself in a totally different light. And then you're like, yeah, of course you just have so much compassion for everything and for yourself and other people that you're like, anxiety, what? Come on in, anxiety. I got you. I'm God. I know it sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous when I say those words out loud. And very few times have I
Thank you.
actually
Well,
said
you're
those
like,
words out loud. When I
I
say that to JP, he's like, what? He's like, you're God. I'm like,
yeah,
no, you're
not saying
missing it.
I'm
You're thinking about it
God.
too literal. Like, I'm not talking about God. And I'm not talking about like the man in the clouds that like I drew
Yes.
in like PSR class. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's that thing that is bigger than us and that pure love energy that moves through us. That's spirit. That's God. That's whatever you want to call it. And like we forget that we're this clear channel, this clear vessel, but like that it lives and resides within us. And so of course you're worthy of abundance. Of course, you're worthy of a partner who loves you and like a marriage that's healthy. And of course, you're worthy of a body that is, is not filled with dis-ease. Of course, you are worthy of like all of these things. But like you don't see yourself as that. You see yourself as a mom. You see yourself as a 47-year-old body who is limited. You
Right.
see yourself in these like limiting 3D views.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's keeping
No,
all of us
actually,
stuck.
it's
Sorry,
really,
I know
really
that this is
interesting that you said
probably
that. This is
bigger.
weird because like I said, our monthly topic this month in my community is fierce self-compassion. And I actually brought this up because I myself am um inactive in um organized religion, right? I was raised in it. I'm right. So and
Yeah,
all of the women
ditto.
of my community are of a specific faith of a type of this kind of religious which is wonderful. So for me to explain something to them last night, I said, and this has always bothered me, and not bothered like I'm mad at you or anything, but bothered me in a way that for women who are so devout in their faith and they believe in this God and they love their
Yeah.
God and I say, okay, great. So let's think about how much you love your God and you love everything about him. Then how can you not love yourself? How then can you spit on
Right.
him by saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough? Because he made you the way that we are taught, the way that we believe. He made you exactly who you were supposed
Mhm.
to be. It's what you believe. Exactly for the time you were
Yeah.
supposed to be here. You were put here for very specific
Yeah.
reasons to do the very specific things that you were put here
Yeah.
to do. So isn't it almost blasphemous to then
Mhm.
turn around and say, I'm not good enough, I'm not
Yeah.
worthy, I'm not, you know?
But I mean, when you think about it, organized religion makes you think that, right? Because you come into this world with like original sin, right? And so just having a
A
body and
sinner.
being born, you're a sin. And so like it's super like I look at it and I think it's super layered. And I will tell you, I was raised Catholic. My
There you go.
husband, John Paul, is named after the Pope, comes from a very Catholic family. We were, baptized all of our children. Our kids went to Catholic school. We've since in the past, I'd say like 7, 8 years pulled out of the Catholic faith. And I would agree with extremely spiritual, have the deeper connection with source, God, whatever you want to call it, than I've ever had in my
Right.
life. And yet I haven't set foot in a church in 6 years. And I don't know that I
Right.
ever will again. Not, I mean, who knows? Maybe I will for like some other reason. Um, but because I really believe like we don't need a middleman between us and
Your
whatever
relationship,
that
right,
being is,
right.
but it is, I agree. Yeah, I think it is, but I think the thing is like we are taught that we do, and especially if you are in any type of organized religion, like we are taught that we do that is like that is something on a
Mhm.
pedestal, and you are earning that love, and you have to work to prove that love, and if you are good enough, you get chosen, and you will go on to have
Right.
eternity, whatever it may be, and so and I'm not listen, I believe like mindfulness and meditation and learning to come home to yourself
Yeah.
can be. It does not matter what religion you are, but I understand. I do think that when you are in some certain types of organized religion, it can create a boundary there. It can be like a little bit of like a tug and pull because this is this thing that is like perfect
You're
and
trying
you
to live
are a
up to the
sinner. I don't
perfect
know. Not to go
expectation.
like too much. Yes, yes. And I just think that that's like, please, I think that's a story that we've been
No,
told
well,
so that we
yes.
be obedient and all
But
of these things. And I don't
it
think it's serving
actually the
anyone.
conversation took a
A
great
a
like,
whole
it went
thing.
with what I was saying, like, it made them stop and think you're right. Like, it helped them kind of shed it, like, you're
Yeah.
actually right. Like, if he loves
Yeah.
me and he designed me and I am created for this purpose, then why should I not love myself for this purpose? Why should I not love myself for the things I'm doing? Like you said, just being here today, presently.
Yeah. It- yeah. Yeah. A way that I find it easier to talk with with some of my, the women that I work with, that I find easier to digest with them is by just referencing like how they feel about their children. I'm like, you look at your kids and you love them. Like they were born and you're like, you are perfect. Like you don't
All
have to
right.
like get a job to be loved. You don't have to like change your body. Like they're inherently perfect. Right. And like we love them so much. And I like say to them all the time, like, and that is
Yeah.
you. You are that same thing. Like you are that same child. You are no different. And I wish you could see yourself the way you see your children. If you could like take
Mhm.
that and just mirror that, like have a mirror in front of you and reflect that, let it bounce back on you. How amazing that would feel for you to understand, like, wait a second, I too am inherently perfect and perfectly made. And like, I don't need to earn it. And like right now in this moment, I can feel love and peace and joy and abundance, like right now,
Right.
not when I become a better mom, not when the kids go off to college, not when my house is more organized, not when X, Y, or Z, but like right now, because it goes back to the thing we talked about before. Like there's no such thing as the future. Like it's just right now in this present moment. And I guarantee, like when we're all really present, like with our children or like in nature, like you feel it,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. You feel this like overwhelming sense of like, I always think about it too. It's like when you open your heart up to gratitude, you're like, oh my gosh, the abundance of what's right in front of me right now, this love that I'm feeling, that feeling we can tap into at any moment when we're driving in the car and we're sitting in traffic. We can like so easily forget that like, oh my God, this is pure love energy to drive in this car. Like how great. Do you know what
I love
I
it.
mean? But like you really do. Like sometimes but, like, I joke about it with my kids all the time because 'cause I'm like, "Just
Yeah.
over here, pure love energy, making you guys dinner," and, like, you almost
Yeah.
have to have, like, a sense of, like, playfulness with it and be like, "Yeah, at any moment I can drop in and be like,
Right.
holy shit, I forgot for a second. Holy shit, I thought that this stuff mattered. I forgot that this thing in front of me that I'm stressing out about
Yeah.
actually in the real like, does not actually matter, and, like, oh my god, I get to choose how I feel." And it's like you catch yourself over and over. We go numb, we forget, we get caught up in the 3D, and, like, we always have an opportunity in the present moment to, like, come right back
Mm,
and be like, "Whoops,
and
here I
that's why I
am.
love
There's
it
that
being
pure love
thought of
energy
as a
again.
practice,
There
you're
she
not
is."
right? And like your rubber band. It's like, yeah, you get to
Yes.
back to this where you're
Yes.
constricted and it's like, nope, nope, I don't like this. Come on, we got to stretch. We got to get back. We got to do this again. We got to try again. And I think like when I said that you become hyper aware of it is the blessing because then you can more easily connect to it, but they still sneak up on you. Those moments still sneak up on you and you're like,
All the time.
ooh.
Gina, they snuck up on me 30 minutes ago and I was trying to get my tripod set up and like trying to get this thing. Yes, they sneak up on us all the time. And the best part is the whole point of life, the whole
Yeah,
thing of this is just an experience, an experiment to like go numb and forget and to wake back up. Right? And that's all we're doing here on this planet is just like forgetting and waking back up and like how beautiful. And so if we can have
yeah,
more moments that we're awake and conscious and in the present moment, I think the happier this planet will be and the happier we'll all be. But my God, like of course you're human. We're gonna fall asleep. We're gonna go numb. We're gonna
right.
fall into this like victimhood and all these other things that our mind loves to tell us. And that's just being human.
That's the
And that's the
human
human
experience.
experience.
Well, and I was thinking, but I don't have a way to make it sound like that eloquent, but it's almost like once you've felt it, it's like a vicious cycle that if you can't get out of this, you won't be able to get to that. You won't be able to, but once you're in it and once you finally like kind of
Yeah.
click into place and you're like, oh, like the curtains pulled away from the wizard and you're like, ah, I see it so clearly. Right. And it's like, duh,
Totally.
why couldn't I
Totally.
get here sooner?
Yeah.
Well, you made it, but you made it, you got here. But
Yeah.
and that's just the work
Yeah.
that I just want
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
and I know you as well, is just like helping unlock that, helping pull the curtain back, helping, say,
Yeah.
permission, you don't have to adopt what these other people are saying. You don't have to now inherit this life that's not even yours, but someone else's, but now you feel like it's yours, like it's your grandma's
Yeah.
fine china.
Yeah.
Um, So
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
is one
exactly.
thing
Yeah.
in this season of the women
Mm.
you work with, what is it that you think they need to desperately stop apologizing for?
Oh, stop apologizing for it. Let me see. I mean, listen, I don't think we should be apologizing really for anything.
Apologizing for
Um,
apologizing?
yeah, I don't know. I have to think about this for a second. Um,
Oh,
I
that's
think
a good
taking up
one.
space. I think taking up space. I also feel like, and I don't think they say this. I'm trying to like put language to what I've been noticing lately. Um, I think that a lot of people, and I don't think they like outwardly apologize for it, but when they're talking to me and they're starting to share like their deeper fears and like the deepest thing, I think a lot of people feel shame. I think we feel a lot of shame and a lot of guilt around our feelings. And I think when we're in the quiet of our own home, when we're looking in the mirror, when we're putting our head on the pillow at night, there's this like inner critic that comes out and it starts like
Yeah.
shaming us for all these different things of like, you should have been more patient, And I think especially when you're on this self development journey, I hate that word, but um, as you become more aware of these things, it can become really easy, and we start wanting to, like,
Right.
apologize for that, even if it's just to ourselves and be like, "I'm so sorry I failed you. I'm so sorry," and I think trying to understand and getting to the point where, like, you don't feel shame about any of these feelings, about being human, about having moments where you snap back into the 3D or you snap at your kids or you are impatient or you look at yourself in the mirror critically or, like, you judge yourself, whatever it is, like, that's okay and just being a lot more compassionate with ourselves. I think that we could do a world, it would do us a world of good if we could start being a lot more compassionate with ourselves for just
I actually had this
being
I
human.
love that. That's beautiful because I actually had this conversation. I know one with my old business coach, but I think I've had it with two different. Anyway, my question is, oh yes, it was a mindset coach. Okay. So one was with my business coach and one was with a mindset coach, and there was very, very, really good conversations. But my question was, what do you think is I don't want to say more important work, but maybe the
Yeah.
foundational work, mindset or self confidence, compassion, whatever. I'm gonna ball that all up because self-love, self-confidence, self-compassion, that's all
Mhm.
kind of the
Mhm.
same thing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and and I truly think it is self-compassion. I do w- mm, because you have to have that trust with yourself that, like you're saying, release the shame and just, yes, I am me, I am human, this is
Mhm.
an experience, ebb and flow, it's fine. Like we said when we first jumped on this episode, and I'm like, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. It'll all
Yeah.
be fine. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so for me, it is
Yeah.
that, but these other 2 both believed it was mindset. Actually, I won't say that because Daniel was kind of neither here nor there. She had both, but my business coach definitely thought it was mindset first, and that once you have the mindset, you can kind of not talk yourself into anything, but kind of coach yourself through anything. And I said,
Mhm.
but that's not true because if you have the self-compassion, you
Mhm.
don't need to coach it. You trust it. It's already there. So what do you think?
Yeah. Um, well, I think mine's isn't self-trust a mindset
Yeah,
concept
I
though?
mean, no,
I,
because
um when you say mindset,
mindset,
what are you
like
referring to?
being able to rationalize, um, okay, how do I say this? Like instead of this is a negative thing, I can mindset myself through it by saying, um, I can make it where I don't know. I don't know how to actually explain what a mindset is in this. I know in
Yeah.
my brain, but I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I would say that in my I don't know. I don't know
Well,
that I
I'm
have
not
like a
asking
clear
you well
answer
enough. I'm not giving
for
you a good
you on
example
this.
of
I
the
think
mindset. I'll have to come up with you example. I'll have to
yeah.
come up with an example. I know I had an example when I asked
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
question
Yeah,
originally.
yeah, yeah.
I had an example, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, well,
And
I
now I'm gonna
think
want you
just
to send me a
anything
note
like
later
if
and
I'm
we can hash it
going
out.
to I mean, if I'm going to I think mindset is fake it till you make it. I think that is a very specific mindset where, okay, I'm getting into this business of a podcast. Great, whatever. I don't even know what a podcast is. Okay, I'm going to jump into it and I'm going to learn it. Well,
Yeah.
here's my mindset. It's going to be fine. You'll figure it out. Just take it the one next step. You're going to figure it out, which, yes, I see how that is a trust as well, but you are coaching yourself through it. You're kind of faking it till you
Mhm.
make it type of thing. Whereas a compassion
Yeah.
is no matter what, I know that I'm going to be okay. And it's going to be okay because I know that even if it doesn't work out, even if it goes up in flames, it's a dumpster fire, I'll go to the next thing because I know it's fine,
Yeah.
right? Is that
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. And I always think so if you're looking at it
yes.
like they're like
Okay.
more like tools, if you will. So I think, for example, like I'm just gonna say this. So like I was with a client talking with a client today, we were talking about something and I gave her a couple of mindset practices, like tools. And one
Mhm.
of them, it doesn't matter, but like you think about it like journaling, a gratitude practice as if it is like the thing that you're
Right.
wanting has already happened in real time versus it's something you're wishing for. It's something that already exists within you. We were talking about some visualization at night, going to bed, like visualizing the woman you want
Yes.
to be as you fall asleep,
Yes.
like seeing her as if she exists and opening your heart, right? So
Mindset tools.
there's these like
Yes.
mindset tools, if you will, like practices. But I will say it came down and we were talking about it and I was explaining to her and I was like, sometimes we just have to do these enough to begin to open up the heart and to open up the mind because you have to. One of the things I do think like mindset tools and practices help us with is it gives us an ability to try it on and our brain doesn't know the difference between something happening in our real life versus something
Yeah.
that we're like imagining in our head, right? It does not know the difference, whether it's in the 3D or it's right here in the mind. And so I think even just something like visualizing, this is just
Right.
we're labeling that as like a mindset tool, okay? Just like visualizing yourself gives you an opportunity for the heart to feel like, oh,
Mm.
this is what it feels like to feel love. This is what it feels like to live with abundance of peace, joy, and ease and love. And you kind of try it on. And I think sometimes we have to try things on enough times that you start to believe it. And then that belief begins to grow and that confidence begins to grow. But I think it doesn't happen overnight. Like you can't like Jedi mind trick yourself
Right.
into abundance thinking. You have to like really embody it and
And it
try
has to
it
be
on and like
consistent.
feel it right now in this moment as if it's true. And it has to be done consistently enough. But I do think that those little drops of the
Mhm.
water and drops in the bucket end up building this well of self compassion. But I think for a lot of times, like saying to someone like,
Mm.
love yourself, have
Yeah,
self compassion.
it
It's a really
is.
hard place to start. It's a hard point of entry because sometimes it's too far of a reality from where we're at. It's the well is so low. So I see this a lot with the women I work with. Like we're coming at such a place where they are feeling so crappy about themselves for so long that to get to a leap to be like, come with me into the
Right.
self-love
No.
journey. They're like, I'm not there
Yeah.
yet. It's too far of a stretch. And so sometimes I think these like little tools are sort of,
Yeah, little baby
I don't
steps.
know, little practices to start building up that confidence.
It totally
Yeah.
does
I don't know if
actually.
that answered your
I
question.
love it because last night we were that the topic for fierce self-compassion was about consistency. It was about you have to it's like habits.
Yeah.
You have to prove to yourself that you're actually going to do the thing,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden one day you just know you're going to do the thing. You don't have to have the habit there
Well,
because you trust
it's
yourself.
because,
Right.
yeah, confidence builds
Yeah,
momentum.
so
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah. That's how it works.
I
Yeah.
went on to a whole new thought process while you were explaining it, and it's like you have the one, and then it because I thought, well, okay, which one makes you more successful? Once you have a grasp on both, which one then propels you further in life? And I'm not saying like successful, like, you're the
Mhm.
CEO. I'm
Mhm.
talking about in life, like
Mhm.
what your definition of true success is, whatever each of us, our
Mhm.
definition is. And then I'm like, that's
Mhm.
interesting because I think at that point you kind of lift off and one kind of takes over and I don't know. Anyway, so it's as of now, they are very much intertwined, but it's just a fun it's
Yeah.
kind of a chicken or the egg thing for me. And I love that question and it's a thinker, but
Yeah, I get that.
well, I really am appreciative of your time. I wanted to ask you this one last question if you're up for it. If a woman listening today
Yeah.
decided I'm done abandoning myself, what are some
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
practical tools that you would
Oh,
recommend?
is this so easy? Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna start a meditation practice. You're gonna start a meditation practice. They're not gonna do anything
One
else. They're
thing.
not tools. It's one thing. It's the one thing only. Okay. Let's just keep it real simple. You're gonna start a meditation practice. And it's gonna be you can be 2 minutes, you can give me up to 5 minutes. I don't care how many minutes it is, or you're gonna do it every single day. You cannot do it once a week and be like, I did it. You cannot do it twice a week. And no, it is in
Mhm.
every single day. It's like brushing your teeth. And you're going to do it every single day as if it's the most important thing that you do. And your mind is going to give you a million and one excuses, and it's all just bullshit, and you're not going to listen. And you're going to have a belief in yourself that you are worthy of this time. And I think that it also requires a deep faith that things will change and you're capable of change. And so you have to take that faith and you have to take that belief and you take it with you every single day when that alarm goes off and you're like, not today. Didn't I meditate yesterday? Didn't I meditate? Like I think about it all the time. I've been meditating for 10 years. This morning, my alarm went off. I had a big kid sleeping in my bed because my partner's traveling. And I was like, today, really? The mind was like, haven't you meditated enough? Aren't we like enlightened yet? And I'm
Aren't
like,
we Obi-Wan
you
already?
know, like, aren't we there yet, girl? Totally like, I think you're good.
Yeah.
Like, listen to how low your voice is. You're good. And you know what? The thing is, it's like, no, and you cannot listen. And I have to think like, if I really believe that I'm worthy of this, I'd show up every single day like my
Yeah.
life depended on it because my life does depend on it. And that's it. I would not do anything else. You don't need to, you don't need to like do some weird visualization or get crystals or do anything else. Like stop all the things, stop all the things. Just give yourself a meditation practice. You also do not need any teacher. You do not need to buy any courses. You do not need to put anything in your earbuds. It is just you with your breath, and you're just going to witness your breath, and that's it. It's so basic, it's so simple, and your mind is going to get really active, and your body is going to get really uncomfortable. And both those things are good signs. It means it's the first time you've been there, and you just aren't good at it yet. And you will. The body will calm, the mind will calm, but you have to be willing to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation first. And you're going to do that every single day, like your life depended on it. And you're going to give me at least 60 days. And then you're going to come back to me and say, okay, Katy, I get it. And if you quit before then and you come to me and you say it didn't work, I'm gonna say, I told you it was a slow burn. This is not a dopamine hit. This is not like a quick dopamine hit. It is a slow burn, but it is the foundation of everything. And so forget
I love
everything
it.
else.
I
Just give
love
me
it. I
five
love it so
minutes.
much. I also will bring up and I'm going to ask you've got anything you want to share like say your October retreat? What is that about? Is that something you want to share here?
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. I want to share it all. So we have a couple things. We have a new offering coming out. It's a membership. It's called The Practice. It is literally like my practice. I'm inviting you to come do it with me. It's a monthly membership and it is a library of all the resources you will need. It is like a lot of I'm gonna say videos, but it's me walking you through how to start your own meditation practice. Okay, if you're like, I want to do this, where do I begin? This is where you begin, and then it's a full library of audio meditations. If you're like Katie,
Yeah.
being on my own feels like too much. It is audio meditations and video meditations. It's a resource of yoga practices and mindset practices, things to go deeper. It is a whole library, and you get to have it in the palm of your hand with you when you get up in the morning. You just open that little baby up, and it's got all the resources right there for you. And you can do this in the comfort of your own home. And it's so basic, it's so simple. We've kept it really simple. So it's called The Practice. You can find it if you find me on Instagram, like it's all linked there. And we've got a meditation and mindfulness retreat. It is so much more than just meditation, but that's really the foundation,
Yeah.
the practice, if you will. In October, it's 4 days or 4 days, 3 nights. Gina,
That's okay.
I'm good
That's
at a
what's
lot of
so
things.
nice about a
Logistics, like
bio.
remembering
Link in
details, is
bio,
not one of
link in
them.
bio. But I
But
just wanted to talk about it. So you
yeah,
said you were at
yeah,
one in
yeah.
Panama. Where is this one in October going to be? Arizona. Okay.
This one is in Arizona. We're keeping it local. The Panama one is so beautiful, but I've heard a lot of feedback was
To get
it's
there.
difficult for
Yeah.
moms and women in
Mhm.
midlife to get away for 8 days. So we kept this one's in the United States. It's right by the airport. You can come in. It's 3 days. You come on a Thursday night.
Awesome.
I'm sending you home on a Sunday, and it is filled with just women in midlife who want to create a new foundation for themselves and like want to come home to themselves. And the thing is that a lot of people who are new to meditation come to this. They're like, I've never done this a day in my life. Perfect. Come. This is where you learn it. You're surrounded by other women. I make it super approachable and easy, and we have a lot of fun and laugh too. And plus, you get to like be in the Arizona desert, and we do super cool
I love
things.
it. I love it. I
So
love it so much.
come.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I will connect all of those into the show notes, but thank you so much for being here
Yes.
with me. And it was so lovely having a conversation with you.
Oh, Gina, this is
So I
so
really appreciate
fun.
it.
Ugh. What you're doing is so cool and so important. So thank you for doing the work that you're doing. I know it's not easy. I know how much behind the scenes work
Yes.
doing things like
Yes.
programs and podcasts. It
Yes, it
is
is
it
God's
is
work.
God's work. So yeah,
No,
good for you.
same
Good for
same to
you. It's
you. I
not easy.
appreciate it, and I
And
appreciate your
thank
time, and
you.
thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Talk to you soon.